Thanks. And Kirby was being quite humble because besides being the director of the O&I program, he is the author of the book. He and Jennifer Bottomley wrote the book and did a fantastic job. I'm not a historian. I'm going to talk a little bit about photography and the project itself. But if you do have questions about Charlie Russell, we have the master here. Kirby knows. I would say at this point, he's probably one of the best Russell experts in the country. He's been spending a lot of years studying him. So if you have questions about history, Kirby's going to come up and bail me out. But other than that, I'm going to talk a little bit about photography. They usually keep me in the basement. I'm a little rougher around the edges than most of the academic speakers that you see here. But I'm gonna wing it, and hopefully you're gonna come along with me on a little bit of a trip. I want to speak about a couple of things. Like I said, I work in the photo archives. I do a lot of the work with our photo collections. We have 500,000 photographs in our collection. And I get to work with Kirby's wife, Becca, and Lori Morrow, who have been here for a long time and know a lot about Russell. They know a lot about our collection. And oh, I just got turned on by Kirby. Thank you, Mr. Lambert. But anyway, they still call me the new guy sometimes. I've been here 19 years. Anyway, I'm gonna move on. I'm not the historian, but Kirby knows more about Charlie Russell than Nancy probably knows, Nancy Russell. I'm gonna move along a little bit. One of the reasons that I felt very responsible for doing this work is Charlie Russell is, one of Montana's favorite sons. And my work was to represent his work. It wasn't for me to do my photography, but it was to represent his work and what he means to people in the state. I wrote a little bit of a statement just to kind of talk about that. The purpose of this type of photography is not to practice my personal creativity. The sole purpose and responsibility is to represent the look and appearance of the original artwork as closely as possible. It's never as good as the original, but you have to try to respect the artist. So that's what this photography is about. It's not about what I can do. It's about what we can do to show off Charlie Russell's work. Photographing someone else's art is skilled labor more so than it is a creative act. I liken it to a good carpenter, plumber, or tradesman. There are a lot of expensive tools, lots of experience needed to do the job well. And successful work in this field is measured by how little the presence of the photographer is felt. We want to show Charlie Russell. We don't want to show pictures of what I think or what I do. So I just want to make that statement. That's what this type of photography is about. There's a lot of different types, and I'm not putting myself down. I have a big head, big fat head, a huge ego. My website is tomferris.com if you want to see my personal work. But this is, this is about Charlie Russell. So I just wanted to say that. This book is also about Bob Morgan. The book is dedicated to him and his wife. He's the curator and board member emeritus at MHS. I never had the privilege of working with Bob, but I got to meet him a lot over the years. And one of the best things about this whole project was in about 2011, when we were first starting to do the work, Bob's eyesight was still a lot better than he's having a lot of trouble now. But he came down and looked at the photographs and let me know how much he appreciated it and the fact that this book was going to be done. And that meant the world to me. So I just want to pay a little tribute to Bob. He has always had this book in his head as a dream. In 1979, this catalog, it was a small catalog, about 28 pages, was done with the publications department when Vivian Paladin was the head of the publications department. As you can see, they had some troubles with the reproductions and the printers. Printing and technology is a little better now. We can give you a better representation of what Russell was trying to do. But this is still a nice publication. These are our authors here. If you haven't met them, if you don't know them, Kirby and Jennifer Bottomley O'Looney. I just wanted to show a picture of them. They worked on this project for years and years. and some more years. And they did it while they were doing their other jobs. And it wasn't an extra job, it wasn't a paid job. They did it out of the love for Russell's work and the passion that they put into their jobs here at the Historical Society. So salute to them. If anyone ever tells you state employees don't work hard, you have my full permission to cuff them. I have a little timeline of the book project, just a brief one, talking about the museum wanting to publish this book since 1950s, always being a dream of Bob Morgan's and the museum staff, everyone who worked in the museum from Bob's time on. Bob worked from the 50s through the 70s. The small catalog we showed you just a minute ago, pictured in 1979. Kirby and Jennifer have been researching and writing about Russell since '89, and they began writing for this specific project in 2010. Now, we secured the funding for the book from Richard Gruber, Wapiti, Wyoming. Sorry to read to you, but I'm going to do that. There's some red print there because 2010 is when Richard Gruber said, I will sign this check and pay for this project to happen. And 2010 is also when publications jumped in full scale. Kirby and Jennifer jumped in full scale. And the year after that, we got the equipment to do the photography. From 2011 to 2012, we did all the photography for the book. And we did that about every other week with the museum staff, myself and them. So the writing was completed and design work began in 2013. And edits were done, and the book was sent to the printer in the summer of this year. And it's almost here. It's really close. By all estimates, we may have the book in the store and ready for you all to come and see next week. So the McKay Gallery, while this was all going on, I'm going to do a little side trip here. While all the book project was going on, the McKay Gallery was totally cleared out by the museum staff, and all the work was put into storage. The gallery was repainted, and there were a few new additions put into the gallery. This all happened in about 3 weeks. So there it is, freshly painted, ready for the work to be rehung. All that styrofoam running around the floors was just to bring the paintings in and set them on. There's always museum staff handling the work. This is not anything that's kind of dismissed or treated lightly. This is the original McKay Gallery of Russell art, 1957. And the McKay family has a huge part to do in why we even have this collection. They made it possible for the Historical Society to start collecting this work. And we had a big party after it was all done and had some festivities. This is the McKay family up on the right, or a large part of them anyway. And then our authors with Lieutenant Governor McLean and Charlie's great-nephew, Bruce Russell, on the end there. Told you I'd get you back. We did photograph the work, finally. That's what I'm supposed to talk about tonight. We photographed all the Russell work, and there's always museum staff on hand to handle the work. So I have adult supervision to keep me out of trouble. And I feel like this was a gift to be able to do this. I have to be honest, I've never was a huge fan of Western art and Charlie Russell. I'm going to admit it. I've always been a mid-century modern guy. I love those paintings. But after doing this project, I'm a fan. I'm won over. So doing this photography, once again, I'm going to mention Richard Gruber. His gift, besides doing this book and this project, has allowed us to photograph many of the things in the museum collection, and we're going to be doing it for years to come. And we're going to be able to represent our collections well and throw our best foot forward and let the public see what we have and, and see it in a better light. These are some before and afters, what we had to offer the public and offer publishers before, and what we have to offer now. Excuse me. I'm going to take a drink of water. Let you look at that for a sec. So a lot of times the photography maybe wasn't done as well. A lot of times the color and the slide shift, sometimes we would send out work to publishers and other museums, and they would keep our best slides, and we would end up with the worst slides. So that's not a good thing. But with digital work and digital capture, we can duplicate an equal quality image over and over and over again for other people, for the public, and for this institution. So that's a good thing. Just some examples. Again, color shifting on that slide in the upper left, it's all yellowed. The lighting's not so good. Maybe the angle wasn't as good. Now it's a little better, and we have this really nice equipment to do this work with. I'll have examples of how I lit it in a little while. Here's one where we didn't even have a color image when people requested it. And now we have a color image, and it's lit well. This is me. We had to be very careful when we did this that we didn't have a lot of glare coming off the back of my head. I'm supposed to wear a black beanie, but I didn't do that in this picture. We were just, but anyway, we would set these up. This is how we do the two-dimensional lighting for oil paintings, watercolors, and work on paper. The lights get shot through a polarizing filter, and I also have another polarizing filter on the camera, which gets turned to eliminate all the glare off the painting, or off the watercolor, or off the work on paper, and those are the letters and sketches that Russell does that we all love so much. That's the really nice Nikon camera that Richard Gruber bought for us, and all the lights as well. He bought all these lights, and there's a Camera Control Pro 2 program that was also purchased by Richard Gruber with his funding. And we can shoot in the studio and check it immediately. The camera is attached to the computer, and we can look up and make sure that everything's in focus and that our exposure is correct and the color is good before we even go to Photoshop, which is kind of the next step. So this is step one. This is down in the basement. This is where they keep me. Usually there's not anyone there to play with. I'm usually in there by myself. And beyond that little black door there is a wet darkroom. We still use a wet darkroom here occasionally at the Historical Society. We print some glass plates, do some contact printing still, and a lot of people don't even know what film is anymore. We bring kids in sometimes and give them tours of the darkroom, and they're kind of amazed, and they think it's pretty magical, and it is. So anyway, this is what happens if you just take a picture with a flash on your camera. There's glare, or if my head gets in the way, there's glare on the painting. When you filter it properly, this is what we get, and this is what we're trying to do for the book. We're trying to represent Russell's work best we can. So we eliminate all the glare, let the color and the brush strokes come through. There's just some nice examples. The painting on the left is one of my favorite Russell paintings. I don't know why. It just works for me. Portrait of an Indian. It's just an elegant, beautiful piece. And I, like I said, was not a huge fan of Russell. I know that's not the proper thing to say at the Historical Society, but I am now. And I did learn a lot more about his respect for Native American culture and being more than a cowboy artist. I just had this image in my head that he was a cowboy artist. He was always about the cowboys. Well, he was about Montana, and he was about early Montana, and he showed us the changes that happened. But he was a cowboy artist too, and this is one of my favorites. We did the watercolors. Those last few were oils. And this is York. We had to photograph this one through the glass. We didn't want to take it out of the frame. And photographing through glass was a trip because you have to wrap your tripod in black cloth, and you have to put a black card in front of your camera, and there's a black cloth that gets hung across the room, all to avoid reflections, and especially if there's a dark background like there is in this painting. So tricks of the trade. And I learned the hard way because I took pictures of lots of things behind glass that had reflections. So finally figured out how to eliminate them. The book and the collection, they showcase Russell's talent as an illustrator. This is a really nice example. There's a lot of action going on here. He could lay down lines and show motion and action, I think, better than any other Western artist that I've seen. Remington's really great, but he's kind of stiff in comparison. Personal observation. I just like these two images together, so I threw them up there. And it's also just a really nice example of his ink work and color. They just balance each other. So they're, he had a great sense of humor. It says somewhere in this letter that something about, I ran into a woman and there was a lot of her. There's a woman and there's lots of her, something like that. I wish I could quote it better, but I'm not good at that. But he had a great sense of humor, and he didn't just make fun of other people, he made fun of himself. Here he is making fun of himself, and Would You Know Me, Bill? He's writing the Bill rants, his good friend, and I wrote him. I don't think he really did, but he was also a really good self-portraitist. Lots of the images of Russell are really fun, and you know it's Charlie Russell. His envelopes are better than a lot of people's watercolors. These envelopes were sent to friends. This is just the outer wrap on a letter. The one to Kid Price is just a great sketch, a lot of fun. The Convoys Home, I don't know what that means. Kirby can tell us later, maybe. Oh, the Cowboys. No wonder I didn't know what it means. Anyway, and the one down below is great. It's coming from St. Louis, Missouri. I think he was at the World's Fair, and he just writes Bill Rance, Great Falls, Montana, and it got there. So that's pretty cool. If you want to have a closer look at some of these are cases that our carpenter and exhibit builder Todd Saarinen built, and these drawers are awesome. They have glare-proof glass over the top. You can go in there, see all the original letters and sketches. I know a lot of you have seen the McKay Gallery before, but after they did these renovations, it's worth going in again, have another look, see what Todd did. Drawers have great action on them too. I don't know if you're into carpentry at all. He did just a fantastic job. Him and Bobby, Roberta Jones-Wallace, worked on the design together, and he just did a really nice job. And this is a great place to see all those letters. Some of my favorite work that he's ever done. He wasn't shy about holidays. I think his wife, Nancy, maybe talked him into doing the Valentine. And he did it. It's quite successful, and we actually sell it in our bookstore every Valentine's Day, so load up. And he did a great Christmas card. I think that guy looks like John Wayne, but I don't know. Could be crazy. And there's a great little poem there. I won't read that to you, but he was all about Christmas, and we're all about Christmas too. And the book was supposed to be here, and I was going to try and sell it to you tonight with this picture. This is Bob Morgan when he was a little boy in Helen. This is part of our photo archives collection. And so anyway, real soon, man. That book's going to be here, so be to come to the bookstore. I'm going to talk a little bit, I guess I did the 2D or two-dimensional work. I'm going to talk a little bit about three-dimensional sculpture lighting. We use these soft boxes, also thanking Richard Gruber for those. These soft boxes are creating diffused light, kind of like a nice semi-overcast day when you get that nice glowy golden quality of light. You can create this in the studio. Like I said, they keep me in the basement. There's no windows, so we need all these tricks of the trade. But soft boxes are great. So we throw down light through a soft box overhead, and we light the pieces also down below, so we don't have too much disparity in the lighting. These are just leftover scraps of mount board that we set up. Some old boxes from old cameras, and they hold them up. Oh, I went the wrong way. And we use more scraps of little mount board to bounce light up and underneath the sculptures. So they're not going to get harsh light on top, and they're not going to have heavy shadows down below. And again, somebody can be over while I'm doing this and holding these silly cards like that. Somebody's over at the computer can trip the camera, which is sitting down below me there. So this is what hopefully it will look like, and if you take a straight shot, again, I'll show you this is good, maybe not so good. So if you have a on-flash or on-camera flash and you take a direct shot, you get a bad shadow, bad highlights, heavy shadows, and incorrect color. And if you light it properly, you get some really nice effects. So hopefully worthy of being in the book. Again, I got the treat of being able to see all this work. So, and be really close with it. Got to blow it up on the screen and see all the little details. Original plaster here, which eventually was made into a bronze. And I watched a little bit of Kirby and Jennifer's talk from Saturday. And Jennifer said that Russell actually enjoyed his original plasters much more than the bronzes because of the detail in them and the color, I guess, too. But bronzes were made, they were able to be replicated and sold, please more people. This is an iconic image, so I had to put it in the slideshow. This is, you know, everything that I always thought of when I thought of Charlie Russell, Bronc Twister, and that's just a beautiful sculpture. I mean, look at the motion, look at the action. Who does it better? I don't know if anyone does. This one I had to throw in there because this is ridiculous. This is one of the hardest things I've ever lit. It's a glass case with a sculpture inside that, and then a painting on the back of it. So we had to light the sculpture properly, had to light the painting properly so there wasn't glare on that, and then the glass so there wasn't glare on that. So we ended up, we put up the big black cloth. That was pretty good. We wrapped the tripod. That was pretty good. Then we put the black card in front of the camera, and we were almost there. Well, then there were little bits and pieces of the studio showing up in the glass, so we had to cover the computer screen. And then I believe I was working with Amanda from the museum. We had to hide behind a big black cloth. We had to hide behind a big black cloth like this and duck that. It was like a duck blind. And we had to get down and do that. And we were just laughing at ourselves. It was pretty ridiculous. So I had to show a picture of that. This one I had to show just because I wanted to see it really big. I'm going to step back, actually, and enjoy it. The pig is a half-inch sculpture. It's in the gallery. It's a little wax sculpture that Russell did. He always carried a ball of wax in his pocket, and he would make these little sculptures. I don't know who owned this. Kirby might be able to tell us, but we have it. And it's amazing that it survived. It's wax. It's not bronze. It's not metal. It's not wood. It's a piece of wax. This is a really great example of him making one of these little wax sculptures. He carried that ball of wax in his pocket, and I guess sometimes he gave them away. Sometimes he just rolled them up and put them back in his pocket. When you look at this closely, and even on the other side, you can see little bits of lint and bits of lint from Charlie's pocket. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, this is him entertaining some guys. This is down in Arizona or New Mexico. I'm not sure exactly where, but he did a southwestern trip. And, you know, look at these. You get grown men, tough guys. They're all fascinated that this guy can make something like that out of a ball of wax. It's pretty cool. Another one of my favorite pictures of Russell. Most of the Russell pictures for the book, the historic photos came from the Photo Archives collection. And this is one of my favorites here, with his son, Jack. I just love it. I don't know, he just looks happy. He looks like a guy having a good time, and so does that little boy. So anyway, those come from the Photo Archives collection upstairs. You can see them anytime. Well, from 1 to, not anytime, from 1 to 5, Tuesday to Friday. And Becca and Lori can help you find them. I had my little brush with greatness. I got to actually handle Charlie Russell's things. With gloves, of course, but that's Charlie Russell's spur. When we first got it, it was actually painted over in silver. Someone had painted it in silver, took it to a conservator and had it brought back to its more original state. That's pretty cool. And then the Lazy KY brand from the ranch shared with Con Price. One of the envelopes I showed you earlier was written to Kid Price. That's a ranch he shared with Russell near the Sweetgrass Hills. Kirby told me about that. I didn't know where that was from. Russell's tools, that is pretty cool. Charlie Russell's pens that he did all those great letters and drawings with. Couple brushes in there, ball of wax and his palette knives. That was just a treat to see these things and say, these are Charlie Russell's. Yeah. When we shot all the work, we send it off to Friesens. It's a company in Canada, and they have an excellent reputation for printing and doing proof and art prints and art books. So we sent our proofs up to them to have them proofed and to check before they were sent off for final printing. Everything we did went through Photoshop. I work in Photoshop constantly. I almost forgot to put this in the slide talk because I'm just so used to doing it, it's automatic. But Photoshop's a great program. There are a lot of great controls. The most important thing I found, though, is your original capture on your photograph is still the most important thing you can do. A lot of people rely on Photoshop too heavily. They make all these crazy adjustments. They basically try and correct what they did wrong with the camera. So the best thing you can do is do the right thing up front with the camera, have your color balances straight through from your camera to your Photoshop programs and beyond that, and make good exposures. We meter everything with the flash meter to within a third of an f-stop and work from there. So anyway, before and after we send the proofs off, we do all our adjustments in Photoshop. We would send off a batch of maybe 10 or 15 at a time to their FTP site. These files are huge. They're 60 to 70 megabyte files. They're really big files. The camera captures in 8x10 at 600. I didn't want to do too much tech talk tonight because it's really kind of boring if you're not that interested, but those are important numbers because you can do a coffee table quality book and have really nice sharp images. So anyway, we would send these off to Friesens, and they would send us back these proof prints where we could check the color. And if it was a little too red or a little too yellow, we would make minor adjustments. If it was the shadows were too heavy, we could open up the shadows a little bit. But like I said, what we really try to do, and what I've always tried to do, I've been doing photograph and artwork for about 15 years, is to always try and get the original capture to be as close as possible to what you want in the end result. When we get these back, we do make our minor adjustments. They go to the museum master files, so now we have nice images when people call the museum. So we want, you know, a copy of Charlie's painting, we can send them a really good one. And then from publications, it goes to the layout and design work, and that's where Diane Hall, who is up there in the booth, she does all our video work as well, another state employee doing overtime. She does a fantastic job. I had the pleasure and luck of having her do the barn book that I shot all the photographs of the barns for. Diane's design work makes the book what it is. It's not just the final step, but the design of a book, the materials used, the paper stock, the cover, how it's laid out are as important to any book as any step in the progress. So, or in the process, excuse me. So hats off to Diane. I know you're back there, Diane. And so from that point, I'm kind of through the point of my technical involvement in the project. If you have more questions, I'll answer them afterwards. But I also want to talk a little bit about just things, observations, things I learned while I was looking at Russell's work. And like I said, I was not aware of how good of a painter he was, but when you look at what he's doing here, he's dealing with two sources of light. He's got a campfire, and it's bouncing off the people around the campfire. And then the sky in the background, he's bouncing it off this puddle in the foreground, and even some of these grasses down here. He's a master of picking up highlights. Look at over here. I'm not sure if that's coming from the fire or the sky, but he's putting highlights in over here. I don't know, pretty impressive. There are a lot of lesser painters. This one, it's pretty obvious that all the light's coming from the campfire until you realize that in the background, there's great little details, even up here on the wagons and down here in the background landscape coming off the moon. Pretty nice stuff. Pretty admirable job of working in monochromatic paintings. They're pretty exciting to look at, and there's some beautiful subtle colors, especially up in Cottoniac. That's a great painting, and it's actually the publications director Molly Holtz's favorite Russell painting, so just mention that. And then we get to this one. It's the iconic image. It's Russell working as a master colorist. I mean, we can see all the colors that he's using here, all these, the lighting that's just bouncing up through the dust that these buffalo and bison are kicking up, the lighting bouncing off the water back here and up on these hills. That's the most obvious thing. But then when I started doing a few details of this painting, I started looking at this selection of bones in the skull. And a lot of lesser painters are going to paint this, and they're going to have it all white or all gray. Russell's got turquoise in here and indigo blue. And in these grasses, they're not brown and sage only. I mean, there's probably some brown and sage colors in there, but he's got all kinds of crazy yellows and oranges and whatnot. So we also could see all the little brush strokes. I'm not sure if it's obvious here, but when you blow this up even bigger on the computer screen, you can see little brush hairs in it that came off the paintbrush. Those are still there. So we have Charlie's brush hairs. Another example here, you got this grouse sitting in these sticks. Lesser painter paints this stick gray. We have orange and hot pink and all kinds of colors going on in there. And again, a whole array of warm tones and beautiful colors to run the grasses. And those are, you know, in this painting, I think we're down here for the grouse, in that little area there, and right in here for the skull. And from far away, they do look white and gray. So I don't know. To me, that was fascinating to see. And then we're going small scale. We're going to shrink it way down, go from 6 feet to 6 inches. This is maybe my favorite piece in the whole collection. I believe it belongs to the Montana Stock Growers Association, but it's been on loan to us forever. And this is Russell working as a master storyteller. He was working at a ranch. Kirby can tell us more details maybe after I get done, but he was working on a ranch in Judith Basin, and there were some owners of the ranch, or of the cattle anyway, in Helena asking for a condition report. It was during the blizzards in the late 1880s, 1887 or 89. And they asked for a condition report, and the gentleman he was working with didn't know how to write it. He said, "Charlie, why don't you draw a picture?" And this is it. This is the picture, and it tells the whole story. I don't know how long it took him to do this, but it's a quick sketch and color wash, so it probably wasn't that long. But it tells the whole story, and I think there have been other renditions of this image, but I don't know. My favorite in our collection. So he's a master storyteller. His work, you know, succeeds there too. This is everybody who worked on the book. And I'm probably missing a few people. The museum staff, the board, everybody who was involved. I think there's, like I said, I'm probably missing a few, but I just think I wanted to show all the faces. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of steps involved. There's a lot of people jumping in. I'm sorry, you're right.
Is there a picture there of the fellow that put up the money?
No, there's not. I'm sorry, and I got the first picture of him on Saturday, and I didn't get time to include it in here. But he was here for the presentation and Bob's tribute on Saturday, and he's the nicest man. I got to take him downstairs to the photo lab and show him what he had bought for us and what he was doing for us. And he's a very kind, very gracious person. He is not a pompous money man. He's a good man. But anyway, all of these people that you see here are either employees of, well, let's start with the bookstore, publications, the museum, photo archives, and our board and our director. These people all made it possible for the book to happen. So any man that can make a living doing what he likes is lucky, and I'm that. I wrote that for a little article I wrote in the magazine in 2013. I opened up with that line because I feel like I'm pretty lucky. I've gotten to do this. I get to do this on a regular basis, and got sent out to go to 150 barns in Montana in a year and a half. Every week when I come to work, I see photographs of Montana from 1860 on, telling the story. I learn something every week. So I'm in there. I feel pretty lucky. Oh, I got to go back. That is me. And I'm a lucky guy. But I did throw this one in there. The book is supposed to be here, but it's going to be here soon, very soon. And it looks really good under a Christmas tree, as you can see. So hopefully it's going to be here next week. And I hope you can all come back and get it. And I'm sure Kirby and Jennifer would be happy to sign a copy for you. So that's the end of my story. Charlie is a good storyteller. I wish I was as good, but I'm about done. So thanks.